we have partnered with um, ABI. This training is countrywide. We are training or equipping the financial institutions, mainly in tier 4, to make sure that they get upskilled on ESG. ESG is minding about the environment, social, and governance as they are doing their day-to-day work. It's actually a global initiative to make sure that people mind about the environment, people mind about their relationship with the society, that is the social. And lastly, is that people also mind about governance, the way they make decisions and how to make sure that our boards are inclusive, and of course they are also divergent in their formulation. That's why we're here to equip the tier 4, okay, financial service providers to align them with ESG. The Bank of Uganda, as the supervisor for financial institutions, categorized the institutions. Tier 1, we have commercial banks. Tier 2, we have financial companies. Tier 3, we have MDI. And Tier 4 is where we have um, SACCOs, money lenders, and any other category that lends out money. So, for that reason, that tier also needs to be equipped. And that's what ABI is doing. They have gone ahead to make sure that every other person in tier 4 is equipped for ESG.
The challenges that
Okay. The challenge is mainly one, knowledge, the knowledge gap, because people have not understood or appreciated. Okay, why do you need to borrow? Because there are two sources of capital, equity and debt. And if people don't save, they can only borrow. So they need to borrow understanding, borrowing without money, knowing that we should not borrow to go and destroy environment. We should not borrow to go and destroy homes. We should not borrow to go and make wrong decisions. We should borrow to contribute to economic growth, social well-being, and of course, economic growth. In the social element, why do we concentrate more on women and the youth? We have almost 65% of our population are youth. So if we leave that segment outside of ESG, it will be so bad. So we need to equip them so that they understand how to save money, how to invest money, and how to multiply money. We have also focused on women. You all know today that almost 70% of the domestic elements are handled by women. So we need to equip women to make sure that they understand. And it's not only women, but even also men, because we are now putting literacy is important. People to know, why do I borrow and what do I use this money for? It's quite important. Otherwise, if people borrow for waste, it will be so bad. So when ABI comes out with such trainings, they are very, very important. Equipping people with knowledge, why they need to borrow and how to use this money in line with ESG, without affecting the environment, without causing social problems, and also governance. Here we're looking at the disciplines, accountability, transparency. How do you make decisions, good decisions on the money you got? Many times when people go to borrow, they have several reasons. But you realize that very few sit down to get what we call financial literacy. The knowledge one requires to be with before you touch money. Because money is an amplifier. Okay? Yes, and money only gives you options. The more money you get, the more options you get. So these people, they don't have securities, but they have not sat down first of all to get knowledge. How are you going to use this money? Because it has to come back. It's not a donation. It's money that you have to do what? To bring back. So it requires one to know about savings, one to know about investments, one to know how do you conduct a business, your incomes, your expenses, how do you make money. Okay? It requires someone to know the separate investments that are there. So this knowledge should be very key and should be in line with ESG. Don't borrow money to destroy the environment because you need it and it needs you. Don't borrow money to go and cause domestic violence. That's the social element. Don't borrow money and don't make accurate decisions on how to invest and how to use it. You realize that today, the Sustainable Development Goals, okay, these are 17. They are mainly focusing on how can we take nature of our environment. Because as we've been in the training, I've told that we are cutting a tree we are standing on, expecting the branch to fall and as we stay up. The environment is our mother. Okay? The environment is our mother. So in northern Uganda, people should be told how are you going to nurture the environment? To plant trees. You should make sure that you reduce on charcoal burning because all this is going to distort the climate, the conditions, and it will not, when the climate changes, it will not affect those who have been cutting trees only, but it will affect all of us. So it is quite encouraging that please come and borrow money, okay? Put it in environmental friendly activities, okay? Planting trees, okay? Making sure that we do a lot of study on biogas is very important. Okay. The other thing is to make sure that we reduce on our consumption, mainly on things that deal with charcoal. Take an example, we can apply solar, it's very good. Okay. And any other element that can help reduce on the impact on the environment. But I do emphasize let us plant trees. What happens is that where does it become expensive? The it's only expensive at the initial stages. I think that is where maybe government can come in. The acquisition cost of, say, gas, okay, of some of these initiatives. It's the acquisition cost. That's why partnership is very important. If someone can acquire, take an example, a solar, yeah, the acquisition is expensive, but maintenance is very low, and that will reduce on the cost. The same thing happens with biogas. So long as the initial cost is known, people have toilets, people have all this waste. If we can find a way of nurturing this, then government can put a hand in that acquisition cost, and then farms or lenders can help people to acquire this because maintenance is a bit slower, little than compared to one if it was forests.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much. By the names, I'm calling William Moses. I work with API Finance as investment manager in charge of green growth and business development services. Ideal ABI is the company that's funding this training. But before that, ABI is funded by Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Denmark, or what we call the Royal Danish Embassy, Investment Fund for Developing Countries, what we call IFU, and European Union. So ideally, we channel green agribusiness to financial institutions to reach the end user farmer. But of course, we know that world over and globally, there's a mandate now for sustainability. So as the tier ones to tier threes are being supported in terms of having an ESG framework, we realize that the tier fours, well, for now, there is scanty support. So we come in to support the tier four, or what we would call the SACCOs, to ensure that as they're also lending out, they are respecting ESG mandate. ESG is environment, social and governance aspects. As they are lending out, how are their investments going to investment activities that are protecting the environment? As they are lending out, what are their efforts in terms of ensuring that the people they are lending to, well, they are benefiting? That's the social aspect. Then the governance aspect, as they are lending out internally, their staff, how are they being managed? How is the profitability? How is the government structure? How is the governance structure, and so on? So ideally, this training is helping the financial institutions to ensure that as they lend out to investment activities that interact with the environment on a daily, they are making the profits, but they are protecting the planet and also protecting the people. So majorly, that's why we are here today. This training is happening in the whole country, in 18 centers. We started last week with Kampala, where we trained most of the circles there and media. And even here today, we are at actually in where today we are training the financial institutions in tier 4 or the SACCOs, and tomorrow we are also majorly training media. So we know that at the end of the day, it's media that communicates or sends this information to the populace. So as we arm or as we train the supply side, that is the SACCO, we also see it mandatory to also train the media. So yeah, at the end of the day, the two are intertwining in terms of understanding ESG.
So how much money has been allocated for this very?
Thank you very much. Since 2022, we have some good money, close to 120 billion. That's in this fund for the financial institutions to come and borrow from tier 1 to tier 4. But of course, like I've said, we give financial institutions that are channeling funding to investment activities in agribusiness, which are environmentally sustainable. So we are arming them to be investment ready to uptake this funding. This is among the funds that we have. We have several, but these are among them to ensure that at the end of the day, the financial institutions or the SACCOs have the liquidity, what we call line of credit. That's the liquidity on lend, and they also get guarantees to cushion their portfolios against default.
So what is
Since
the
start,
interest?
since
The
start,
interest of that?
since start, what is the uptake? Talk about it.
Yes, please.
Since start of the program,
Yeah.
it has taken some years now.
Okay, since start
And
of
when
the
does it
program,
stop?
I can tell you that we've now reached close to 60%. There is good headway that's happening, but of course, we do believe that still there is more need of awareness among our financial institutions. As you've seen that some of the financial institutions who have attended, some are not on, they're not our clients yet, they're not on our book. So with us interacting with them in terms of stakeholder engagement and training, we even get to know to tell them what's ABI, what are we doing, how are we supporting them. So we believe that with these engagements, we also create a pipeline for ourselves, as we also create a business and liquidity for the financial institutions.
Maybe